Welcome to God's Favourite Shepherds, a collection of 39 short stories rounding out the lives of mainly lesser-known Bible characters, with many of the stories ending with a short quiz. Listen now to the author of God's Favourite Shepherds, Bill Ackland.
The story I would like to share with you today is entitled Men on a Mission. Gifts from Gentiles. And this story is based on Matthew chapter 2. My friends and I are favoured, having been born into the ruling class of our country, a long way to the east of the Great Sea. We had never been that far to the setting of the sun, for there was sufficient interest in our country to hold our attention. Little did we realise what was to happen very soon. We are philosophers, and although idol worship is present in our country, we have thought otherwise. Our special study has been the stars. We have seen that there has been a pattern from year to year in those great lights so far away from us. To be frank, we are fascinated with those heavenly bodies. We have come to believe that all the stars we see above us each night were put there by a mighty one, a being so wise and powerful that he will ever be beyond our knowledge and understanding. And then one night, each of us in our small group had the same dream. We were told that very soon a star we had never seen before would appear in the night sky. It would be easily recognisable, for it would be much larger than the other stars, and perhaps not too far from the world on which we live. More than that, in the dream we were told that we were to be prepared to go on a long journey in the direction of the Great Sea. The guiding star would lead us to the baby who would be born and destined to be King of the Jews. Of course, we knew the checkered history of the Jews. Anciently, their forefathers had lived a somewhat nomadic life in the land of the Canaanites. During a devastating drought, their extended family had moved to Egypt, where sometime later the ruling Pharaoh enslaved them for hundreds of years. Their great leader Moses then came on the scene, and after terrifying plagues sent by their God, the Jews were released, travelling on a 40-year journey through the wilderness to their promised land. I don't have time now to tell you all of their good times and bad, mostly bad, how they found themselves under the control of the Romans. We made a study of the ancient writings of the Jews, for some of their scribes left scrolls in our land when they returned to rebuild the wall and the temple in Jerusalem hundreds of years ago. In these scrolls, we found that a Saviour would come, who would be a special kind of king. With this background knowledge, and as the result of the dreams, we made ready for the long journey to find this one of whom the prophets wrote. We counted ourselves most fortunate and blessed to be told that a special star would guide us on our journey. Knowing that the baby we would see would be no ordinary human baby, we determined to take very precious gifts to him. We hoped his parents would tell him about us and our visit, and how honoured we felt to be able to assist his family in this way. Several months later, we reached Jerusalem. That is where the star guided us, and then disappeared once we had reached the gates of this famous city. Now that we were here, how could we find the one we came to worship? We made inquiries of the common people, but they didn't seem to know what we were talking about. Even the religious leaders were indifferent to our visit. We were just about ready to return to our homeland when we received an order from the king, King Herod, to go at once to his palace. When we arrived there, he seemed very interested in what we had to say about our long journey following a new star in the night sky, and that a new king of the Jews was to be born about that time. He summoned the priests and the rabbis and inquired of them just where this new king would be born. Initially, they were somewhat indifferent to the king's request, so he urged his questions upon them. They grudgingly said that the king, who would be the Messiah, would be born in Bethlehem in the province of Judah. So King Herod told us to go to worship the baby as we had planned, but to be sure to return to him, to tell him where this new baby was, so that he could go to worship him too. We headed off the very next night, for the star that we knew so well had appeared again. We did not stop until we got to Bethlehem, not too many miles down the road from Jerusalem. There we were directed to the humble place where this baby king had recently been born. We were all strongly impressed that this was indeed the one we had been told about in the dreams we had several months ago. With great joy and adoration, we all bowed low before him and worshipped him. What an honour that was for us, for none of the religious leaders of the Jews had seen this precious one. Before leaving, we gave the valuable presents of gold, frankincense and myrrh to Joseph and Mary. Somehow we felt that these gifts would be a great help to this humble family. Little did we know what was ahead of this special family. The night before we left Bethlehem, the same angel again appeared to us in a dream. He instructed us not to go to see King Herod, but to return to our country another way. We were fortunate that over the years, many roads had taken different routes from our part of the world, over mountains and across deserts and rivers toward the Great Sea and Egypt, so it was easy for us to find our way home without going through Jerusalem again. Since arriving back in our country, we have not stopped talking about the unique experience that has been ours. Here we were, philosophers from another land, chosen to visit the one who would be the King of the Jews and the Saviour of the world. We did not know how all this would happen, but we determined that the love and devotion that we had in our hearts when we met this special baby would always remain. We are anxious to hear word of this one to whom we were guided by an angel star. We are the Magi. And here is a brief quiz for you. How many men set off to follow a special star? Did these men live in Galilee, Judah, or in another country? How did they know something of the history of Israel? Did they go to Bethlehem first or to another town? What were the gifts they brought for Jesus? Did they report back to King Herod as he asked them to do?
You've been listening to God's Favoured Shepherds, a book with 39 short stories rounding out the lives of mainly lesser-known Bible characters. If you have any comments or questions, or to obtain a copy of this book, give us a call within Australia on 02 4973 3456 or send an email to radio@3abnaustralia.org.au. We'd love to hear from you.